Please, don't send me to him. I am a coward. Of all the truths I have ever spoken, this one cuts the deepest. My father's voice still echoes in my dying thoughts. The blood-born king will honor the bargain. He must. But what father truly understood the price of the bargain he made was not gold or land. It was me. They called him the Cruel One. King Theron Ashenfell, ruler of the Northern Territories, the wolf who walked in darkness. 3 brides had entered his fortress. 3 brides had vanished, leaving nothing behind but whispers and bloodstains the servants could never quite scrub away. Tonight, I would be the 4th. What I did not know, what I could not possibly have known as I stood trembling in that wedding gown of silver and ash, was that the monster everyone feared was not cruel at all. He was cursed, and the secret he guarded behind those obsidian walls was not his darkness. It was his light, and my arrival would either save him or destroy everything he had sacrificed a lifetime to protect. The branding ceremony happened at dawn. Elira Vex, daughter of a minor border lord, barely worth the ink used to record my birth. That was how Lady Cassia Thornmere introduced me to the court, her voice dripping with false sympathy as 300 pairs of eyes turned to examine the bargain bride. How tragic, Cassia continued, circling me like a vulture assessing carrion. Her crimson gown whispered against marble floors that had likely cost more than my father's entire estate. To be given away like livestock. Tell me, dear, did your father at least get a good price? Laughter rippled through the gathered nobles. Not loud, never loud. These wolves were too refined for that. Just soft, cutting chuckles that sliced deeper than any blade. I kept my chin level. My father had taught me that much before the sickness took him. The bargain was made to save 300 lives, I said quietly. I consider that price enough. 300 peasants. Lord Matias Darkwater stepped forward, his silver ceremonial armor catching the light from the floor-to-ceiling windows. He was the king's cousin, second in line to the throne, and his disdain for me radiated like heat from a forge. Hardly worth trading for a king's bride, especially one without even a basic awakening. My cheeks burned. There it was, the truth that made me worthless in their eyes. At 18, I still had not experienced my first shift. While every other wolf in this room could call upon their beast, could feel the surge of power and primal strength that came with their birthright, I remained stubbornly, humiliatingly human, incomplete, broken. Perhaps the king has particular tastes, Cassia purred, and the implication in her voice made my stomach turn. After all, we all know what happened to the previous brides. Maybe he prefers them defenseless. That's enough. The voice cut through the hall like a crack of thunder. Everyone turned. He stood at the top of the eastern stairs, backlit by the morning sun streaming through stained glass windows. King Theron Ashenfell. Even from this distance, his presence devoured the space. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in black that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. His hair, dark as a raven's wing, fell to his shoulders. His eyes, I could not see their color from here, but I felt their weight. He was looking directly at me. The ceremony will proceed, Theron said, his voice low and controlled. Anyone who wishes to question the bargain may take their concerns directly to me, in private. The silence that followed was absolute. No one moved. No one spoke. Lord Matthias's jaw tightened, but he stepped back, bowing his head in submission. Cassia's satisfied smile faltered just for a moment before she curtsied with exaggerated grace. The king descended the stairs with measured steps, never breaking eye contact with me. And all I could think was, this is the man they say, bathed in the blood of his brides. This is the monster I must share a bed with tonight. The bargain began 6 months ago, when the Crimson Rod arrived. I remember the first victim, old Marin, who ran the bakery in our village square. She collapsed during the morning rush, her skin erupting in red lesions that spread like spilled wine across parchment. Within 3 days, she was gone. Within a week, 12 more had fallen. The rot was a curse, an ancient plague the healers had no cure for. It moved through populations like wildfire, killing indiscriminately, young and old, strong and weak. Entire villages had been wiped from existence. My father, Lord Eldrick Vex, was a proud man. Too proud, my mother used to say, before the fever took her when I was 7. But he loved his people with a fierceness that burned in his chest like a second heart. When the rot came to Silverpine, he did not flee to our manor and bar the gates. He walked among the sick, searching desperately for answers. I begged him to stop. "Father, you'll catch it. You'll die." "Then I'll die having tried," he said, his weathered hands gentle on my face. What kind of lord abandons his people when they need him most? The answer came in the form of a raven. Black as midnight, larger than any natural bird, it landed on our manor's roof and would not leave. For 3 days it circled, its cry echoing through our valley like a funeral dirge. The servants whispered that it was a death omen. They were half right. On the 4th day, a rider arrived. He wore the black and silver of the Northern Territories, and the sealed letter he carried bore a wolf's head pressed in obsidian wax. My father broke the seal with trembling fingers. I watched his face as he read, watched hope war with horror, watched a terrible decision settle over his features like a burial shroud. "There's a cure," he said finally, his voice hollow. "King Theron Ashenfell possesses the antidote to the crimson rot. He's offering it to Silverpine, all of it. Enough to save everyone." Relief flooded through me. "That's wonderful. What does he want in return? Gold? Land? We can—" "You." The word fell between us like a stone into still water, sending ripples of unreality through everything I thought I knew. "The king requires a bride," Father continued, his eyes not meeting mine. "The letter is very specific. A daughter of noble blood, given freely as part of a formal bargain. In exchange, he will provide the cure and extend his protection over Silverpine for 1 generation. My mouth opened, but no sound emerged. "Elira, his voice broke. "I would never force this upon you, but our people, they're dying. 23 dead already, and more falling sick every day. Without the cure, Silverpine will be a graveyard within a month." I should have been terrified. I should have screamed, refused, run. Instead, I remembered old Marin teaching me to knead bread dough when I was 6. I remembered the blacksmith's daughter, Nessa, who had just announced her pregnancy 2 weeks before the rot took her. I remembered every face, every life that hung in the balance. "I'll go," I heard myself say. "Tell him I accept." Father's face crumbled. He pulled me into his arms and I felt his tears hot against my hair. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, little star. If there was any other way—" "There isn't." I pulled back, forcing strength into my voice I did not feel. "You taught me that nobility isn't about titles or bloodlines. It's about sacrifice, about protecting those who cannot protect themselves." The cure arrived 3 days later. Vials of luminous silver liquid that glowed with inner light. 1 drop per person, administered by the royal healers who accompanied the shipment. Within a week, the lesions began to fade. Within 2 weeks, not a single case remained in Silverpine. 300 lives saved. My father died 2 months later. Not from the rot. He had never contracted it, but from a broken heart and a guilt he could not survive. His last words to me, whispered as I held his hand in the darkness: "The blood-born king will honor the bargain. He must. But Elira, if you get the chance to run, run. Don't trust what everyone says he is. Trust what you see. And remember, sometimes monsters wear the wrong skins." I didn't understand then. Standing in that great hall, Feeling Theron Ashenfell's eyes on me like brands against my skin, I was beginning to. What had my father truly bargained away? And what had the cruel king actually purchased with his miraculous cure? The answer, I would learn, was far more complicated than either of us could have imagined. The king's castle was a maze of contradictions. Silent guards escorted me through endless hallways lit by blue-flamed torches, but it was the flowers that confused me most. Night-blooming moon willow cascading from every alcove, their silvery petals releasing scents like honey and starlight. "They're his mother's favorite," a voice said behind me. I spun to find a young woman with auburn hair. "I'm Nissa, your lady's maid. Queen Meredith passed 12 years ago, but the king tends the gardens himself. Every evening. He says it helps him remember what's worth protecting." That image refused to align with the cruel king of legend. "The previous brides?" I asked. "What really happened?" Nissa paled. "My lady, I shouldn't—" "Please. Tonight I share his bed. Don't I deserve to know?" She was silent then. "They say he killed them, that any woman who shares his chamber doesn't survive until dawn. But—" she bit her lip. "I've served here 5 years. I've seen the king angry, grieving, and exhausted, but never cruel. Not once." "Then where did they go?" "I don't know. But the king locks himself in the tower room every night. And on the mornings after the brides disappeared, his eyes—" She shuddered. "He looked like a man who'd lost everything he'd tried to save." Footsteps echoed. Nissa hurried away. I found my chambers easily, luxurious beyond anything I'd known. Windows overlooking mountains, a 4-poster bed draped in midnight blue silk. On the bed lay a nightgown of white lace. For tonight. My hands trembled. Somewhere in this castle, Theron Ashenfell was preparing. Was he sharpening a blade? Or was he, like me, wondering how this would end? The sun dipped below the mountains, painting the sky blood red. They say he killed his last 3 brides. But Nissa's words echoed louder. He looked like a man who'd lost everything he'd tried to save. What if the monster everyone feared was just a man bearing an impossible burden? And what if that burden was about to consume me too? Dinner arrived, but I couldn't eat. A knock made me jump. But it wasn't Nissa. It was Theron himself. He'd changed into simpler clothes, white shirt unlaced at the throat, dark trousers. Without the crown, he looked younger. Perhaps only 10 years older than me. His dark hair framed a face that would have been handsome if not for the exhaustion carved into every line. "You haven't eaten?" he observed. I wasn't hungry. "You're afraid." It wasn't a question. We stood there, 10 feet apart, studying each other. Theron moved to the window, keeping his back to me, giving me space. "What did they tell you about me?" "That you're cruel, that you've killed 3 brides, that I'll be the 4th. "And you believe it?" "I don't know what to believe." The words burst out. "You saved my village but demanded me in return. You tend gardens but lock yourself in towers. You let your court mock me but intervene before they draw blood. You're either the most complicated monster I've ever met or... He turned and I finally saw his eyes clearly, gray as storm clouds, devastatingly sad. "Or you're not a monster at all." Something shifted in his expression. "The truth is more complicated." He moved closer. Up close, I saw scars along his jaw, calluses from sword work. He smelled like pine and winter and something wild. "Elira," he said, my name intimate on his lips. "I need to tell you something. The curse that killed my brides, it's real. But I didn't kill them. I couldn't save them. Tonight, when the moon reaches its apex, you'll understand. You'll see what I truly am." "I don't understand." "I'm asking you to trust me. Just for tonight. Then, if you want to leave, I'll find a way. I swear it." The conviction in his voice, the barely leashed desperation, It was the sound of a man alone too long. Who'd lost too much? Why me? I whispered. Why demand a bride at all? His thumb traced across my knuckles, achingly tender. Because you're different. Your father's letter mentioned you haven't had your first awakening. You're still dormant. You wanted someone broken? No. His eyes locked with mine. I needed someone who might survive. Before I could ask what he meant, he stepped back. The moon will rise in 1 hour. Come to the tower room. The guards will show you the way. He walked to the door, then paused. Whatever you see tonight, know that I never wanted this. I never wanted to drag anyone else into my curse. The door closed. I stood frozen, his words echoing. Someone who might survive. The 3 brides hadn't been murdered. They'd died trying to survive something. Outside, the moon began to rise, huge and silver and inexorable. 1 hour. Every instinct screamed at me to run. But 300 people in Silverpine lived because of this bargain. And Theron's eyes, gods, the grief in those storm-gray eyes, haunted me. He wasn't a monster, but something monstrous lived inside him. And in 1 hour, I would meet it face to face. 45 minutes before moonrise, my door burst open. Lady Cassia swept in, black velvet making her look like a beautiful spider. Still alive, how surprising. Get out. I came to offer you a warning. She circled me slowly. Let me tell you about the king's previous brides. I don't need... The first was Lady Seraphine Morrowvale. She lasted 3 hours before her screaming stopped. They found her shredded like she'd been mauled by an animal. My stomach turned. The second was Princess Yelena of Northmarch. She went to the tower confident. She lasted until midnight, begging for death. By dawn, silence. Stop, I whispered. The third was Lord Matias's sister, Alina Darkwater. She believed love could break any curse. Cassia laughed bitterly. She was wrong. They found her nightgown soaked in blood, but her body never recovered. Some say he devoured her. The other women with her tittered. So you see, Cassia whispered, whatever the king told you, the truth is simple. You're going to die tonight. Tomorrow we'll scrub your blood from the tower stones and wait for the next foolish girl. Rage flooded through my fear. If you're so concerned, why not try to stop this? Because the king is cursed, yes, but he's also powerful. He protects the northern territories. A few dead brides are an acceptable price. She smoothed her skirts. You're simply collateral damage. She moved toward the door. Oh, and Elira? If by some miracle you survive, don't think you've won. The court will never accept you. I'll never accept you. Even if you live, you'll wish you hadn't. The door slammed shut. I stood shaking. With fear, yes, but also fury. Cassia wanted me to run. She'd painted the most horrific picture possible to break my nerve, but she'd made a mistake. She'd reminded me why I was here. Not for love, but for 300 people who deserved to live. I looked out the window. The moon hung enormous, beginning its climb toward apex. 30 minutes. Somewhere below, I heard a sound. Low, anguished, barely human. Like a wolf's howl trapped in a man's throat. Theron. The curse was beginning. And whatever Cassia said, I had made a bargain. It was time to honor it. The tower stairs spiraled into darkness. 2 guards flanked the base. Once you ascend, we seal the door, the older one said. No one enters until dawn. No one leaves. Understand? I understand. You're braver than the others. May the old gods watch over you. I climbed. Each step echoed. The air grew colder, carrying a metallic scent like lightning about to strike. The stairs ended at a door reinforced with silver, covered in glowing runes. I pushed it open. The tower room was circular, vast, with windows open to the night. Moonlight poured in, so bright it hurt. The floor was marked with massive runic circles. In the center stood Theron. He'd removed his shirt. His back was covered in scars, parallel marks like claw marks, like something had tried to tear its way out. "You came." His voice was strained. "I made a bargain." "You could have run." He turned. His eyes glowed, reflecting the moon. "You should have. Why did you need someone dormant?" "The curse affects anyone close when the moon reaches apex. Previous brides had their wolves. When my transformation triggered, it forced theirs. They couldn't control it. The change tore them apart." Horror washed over me. "You didn't kill them. The forced awakening did. I tried to warn them. But they didn't believe until too late." His hands clenched. "Someone dormant might withstand it. Might survive. Might? I don't know. But I couldn't keep letting the rot spread. I had to try." The moonlight intensified. Theron gasped, doubling over. "Get in the circle. The runes will protect you. And whatever happens, don't leave the circle." I stepped into the glowing runes just as Theron screamed. His body convulsed, bones cracking. Fur erupted across his skin. This wasn't a normal shift. This was violence. Forced transformation. His face elongated into a muzzle filled with fangs. His hands became massive paws with dagger claws. His body expanded until what crouched before me was no longer a man. It was a beast. Huge, black-furred, with eyes that burned silver white. And those eyes fixed on me with an intelligence that was still, terrifyingly, Theron. The beast moved toward the circle. The beast circled the runic barrier. Up close, I saw the wrongness. Proportions corrupted. Shoulders too broad. Jaws that could snap a man in half. This was transformation twisted by dark magic. Yet in those burning eyes I saw him. Theron. Trapped. Aware. Suffering. "Theron," I whispered. "Can you hear me?" The beast froze. Its massive head tilted. Then, slowly, it sat. "You're still in there. You're still you." A low rumble. Not aggressive. Frustrated. The curse forced transformations in those nearby, but I was dormant. I had no wolf to awaken. Except that wasn't quite true. I'd always felt something. A presence sleeping in the back of my mind. Something that stirred during full moons. The healers called it a blocked awakening. And right now, with the curse flooding the room, that presence was stirring. Heat bloomed in my chest. Not painful. This felt right. Like something waiting my entire life. "Oh gods, it's happening." The beast's eyes widened. It backed away, whining. Theron trying to give me space. But I needed to understand. The heat spread. But instead of violent tearing, this was gentle. My vision sharpened. My hearing expanded. Sense exploded across my senses. My wolf was waking. Not forcing a shift, but rising to consciousness. And with that awakening came understanding. I could feel the curse. Ancient magic woven into the tower stones, designed to force transformation, strip control, and create monsters. But beneath it, I sensed protection magic. Older, gentler, fading. "Your mother," I said. "Queen Meredith. She was a witch. She placed these runes to protect you." The beast's ears flattened. A nod. "The curse happened 12 years ago when she died. The protection started failing. That's why the transformations became violent." Another nod. Grief in those eyes. "Who cursed you?" The beast scratched symbols into stone. Dark water. "Matias. Your cousin cursed you?" More scratching. "Revenge. Throne." The pieces fell into place. Matias wanted the throne. With Theron cursed, unable to take a mate, the crown would pass to him. That's why he let his sister try. He knew it would kill her. The beast growled at the truth. "How do we break it?" The beast shook its head. Then hope transformed its expression. It extended its paw across the barrier. "Trust." He was asking me to trust him. Every bride before had died because forced transformations made them mindless. But I wasn't transforming fully. My wolf was awake, but controlled. I stepped out of the circle. The protection dimmed. The curse crashed over me, trying to force my shift. My wolf surged, and for a terrible moment I thought I'd lose control. But then Theron's paw touched my hand. Something fundamental shifted. The curse's energy redirected. Like lightning finding ground, it flowed through both of us, connecting us. I felt everything. His pain, sharp and endless, like living with a blade lodged in his chest. His isolation, 12 years of waking alone, eating alone, watching the world from behind walls no one else could see. The weight of being unable to touch anyone without risking their death. Every failed attempt to break the curse. Every morning he'd woken to find another bride dead, another life he couldn't save. His mother's loss. Not just grief, but the knowledge that she'd sacrificed herself for him, that her death was the price of his survival. Matias's betrayal, the bitter sting of family turning to poison, of trust shattered by ambition. And beneath it all, I felt his true wolf. Not this corrupted beast, but the creature he was meant to be, powerful, noble, and protective. A wolf trapped behind bars of dark magic, screaming to break free, desperate to be whole again. It recognized me, recognized something in my awakening wolf that called to it like the sun calls to the moon. "I see you," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "I see all of you, the man and the wolf and everything you've had to bury to survive. And you're not a monster. You never were." The beast shuddered, a sound escaping its throat that was almost a sob. Then, impossibly, it began to shrink. My presence was acting as an anchor. The transformation reversed. Fur receded. Bones reformed. The beast collapsed inward. And then Theron knelt on stone, gasping, human. But the moon still hung at apex. He shouldn't have been able to change back. How? How? Theron looked at his hands, at me, disbelief in his eyes. "We're connected now. Your curse, my awakening, they're tangled together. You're not just surviving it, you're changing it." A sound shattered the moment. Footsteps, shouting. "Someone broke the seal," Theron said. "No one should be able to enter until dawn." The door exploded inward. Matias stood there with guards, his face twisted with rage. Behind him, Cassia smirked. "I knew it," Matias snarled. "Guards, seize the king. He's murdered another bride." "I'm not dead," I said, stepping forward. "Not yet. But when you do die, the council will remove Theron. Except I'm not going to die." I took Theron's hand. "The curse didn't kill me. I survived. And I'm going to help him break it." The look on Matias's face was almost worth every terror of the night. "You're making a mistake," Matias said, uncertainty creeping into his voice. Am I?" I kept my hand locked with Theron's. "You look worried, almost like you didn't expect me to survive." "This proves nothing," Cassia started. "Enough." Theron's voice cut like a blade. "Matias, did you really think I didn't know?" Matias paled. "Know what?" "That you cursed me. 12 years ago, you hired a dark witch to corrupt my bloodline. You thought with me unable to take a mate, the crown would pass to you. That's insane. You have no proof." "I have your sister's diary. Alina discovered what you'd done. That's why she insisted on being the third bride. She thought breaking the curse would prove your treachery. You murdered your own sister through your ambition." The color drained from Matias's face. "The guards are loyal to the crown, not you," Theron continued. "They came because they heard the commotion. Isn't that right?" The older guard stepped forward. "Yes, Your Majesty. Lord Matias claimed you were in danger." "The only danger," I said, "was that I'd survive. That's why Cassia tried to frighten me. Why you broke the seal early, to catch Theron mid-transformation. Cassia's mask shattered. You should be dead. All of you. She cut herself off. All of us? Theron's eyes narrowed. You both knew what would happen. You sent them to die anyway. They were necessary sacrifices. Matias dropped pretense. To prove you're unfit to rule. Except I can control it now. Theron pulled me closer, power surging through our connection. Illyra anchored me. For the first time in 12 years, I transformed back before dawn. The curse is breaking. Impossible, Matias breathed. Or did you just not understand the curse well enough? You never considered the right person might reverse it. Theron looked at the guards. Take them. They'll be tried for treason and the deaths of 3 women. Guards moved forward. Matias drew his sword but was outnumbered. After a tense moment, he let it fall. This isn't over, he snarled as guards seized him. The curse is still there. You'll never be free. Never is a long time, Theron interrupted. And I've just learned impossible things can happen. He looked at me, warmth in his eyes. Take them to the cells. As they were dragged away, silence fell. The moon had moved past apex. The curse's energy was fading. You saved my life, Theron said quietly. You saved my sanity. You saved my village. 300 lives for one night seems fair. It was never meant to be one night. He tucked hair behind my ear, gentle despite the calluses. The bargain was for a bride, a queen. I know you came out of duty, but I chose to step out of the circle, I interrupted. I chose to trust you. I chose to stay. Those weren't duty. Those were choices I made because the monster everyone fears is just a man who's been fighting alone too long. The smile that broke across his face was like sunrise. Then perhaps we should discuss the terms of this bargain. Agreed, but first, explain something. When we touched, I felt your true wolf. Why? Theron's expression shifted. Because you're not just dormant. Your wolf is blocked by ancient magic placed on your bloodline. He paused. You felt my wolf's true nature, didn't you? I nodded. It felt different. Older. More powerful. Because it's not a normal wolf. My father's bloodline carries something hidden for centuries. I'm what the ancient texts call Shadowborn, a wolf descended from the first pack, who could walk between light and darkness. The words sent a shiver through me. What does that mean? It means my wolf has abilities normal wolves don't. It's why Matias feared me, and why you could anchor me. Whatever blocks your wolf responds to Shadowborn bloodlines. I think you were meant to find me. Before I could ask more, his expression changed. Illyra, your wolf. It's not just awakening, it's manifesting. I turned to look at my reflection. My eyes, normally brown, now glowed gold. Pure, radiant gold. The connection between us ran deeper than either of us had understood. Dawn broke in shades of amber and rose. We'd spent the remaining hours in the tower, neither willing to leave where everything had changed. Theron fetched blankets, and we sat by the windows, watching the moon descend, talking. Tell me about the gardens, I said. He told me how his mother taught him to cultivate moon willow, how the flowers bloomed under starlight, how tending them kept him grounded. His voice grew soft when he spoke of her. She knew maintaining the protection magic was killing her, but she refused to stop because it kept me safe. In the end, she chose me over herself. That's what parents do, I said quietly. They choose their children over their own lives. Theron looked at me with understanding. Your father's bargain. You resented him. No. I resented myself for not being valuable enough that someone would want me for my own sake. Illyra. Theron turned to face me fully. I didn't choose you because of the bargain. Your father's letter described you as brave and clever and stubborn. He said you'd punched a lord's son for kicking a dog, that you'd rather die than compromise your principles. That's who I needed. Not someone defenseless, but someone strong enough to face a monster and not flinch. I flinched plenty. But you didn't run. That's the difference. As the sun climbed, I felt the connection between us growing stronger. I could sense Theron's emotions as if they were my own. Can you feel it? I asked. The bond? Yes. It's called a mate bond. Rare, even among wolves. When two people are truly meant for each other, their souls recognize it. But we barely know each other. Knowing someone's history isn't the same as knowing their soul. His gray eyes held mine. Through the bond, I see your heart. And if you're feeling what I'm feeling, you know mine too. I did. God's help me, I did. I felt his loneliness, not just being alone, but being surrounded by people and still feeling utterly isolated because no one could truly see him. The years of carrying the crown's weight while bearing a curse that made every day a battle. His hope, fragile as spun glass, that maybe he could have something beyond mere survival. That maybe he deserved happiness, not just duty. I felt his desire, not just the physical pull between us, though that was there, undeniable and growing, but the deeper desire to be known completely, to be seen without the crown and the curse, without the expectations and the fear, to be just Theron, not the cruel king or the cursed one or the Shadowborn alpha. Just a man who tended gardens and missed his mother and wanted desperately to be worthy of love. I feel it, I whispered. He leaned forward slowly. When I didn't pull away, his lips touched mine with a gentleness that contradicted everything I'd been told. The kiss was soft, tentative, asking rather than taking. I felt the bond flare bright between us. When we pulled apart, Theron rested his forehead against mine. The mate bond has interesting effects, he said. It's going to accelerate your wolf's awakening. Within a few days, you'll probably experience your first full shift. Excitement mixed with terror ran through me. And then we figure out what you are. Normal dormant wolves don't have golden eyes. That color means something old and rare. He looked at me seriously. My mother's journals mention a bloodline thought extinct, wolves who could channel pure light, who balanced the Shadowborn. They were called Dawnborn. If that's what you are, then the curse isn't the only thing that's been hidden. A knock interrupted. Nissa's voice. Your Majesty? The council is assembled. Theron sighed. Time to face the aftermath. He stood, offering his hand. I took it. Together? I asked. Together, he confirmed. The council chamber was packed. Every lord and lady had gathered. News of Matias's arrest and the king's miraculous return to human form had spread like wildfire. They turned when we entered. I was acutely aware of my appearance, still in the nightgown, barefoot. But Theron kept his hand firmly in mine. Lord Gregor Stoneheart, the council's eldest member, stood at the table's head. Your Majesty, Lady Elira, we have questions. Ask them, Theron said calmly. Did Lord Matias truly curse you? Yes. He hired a dark witch 12 years ago to corrupt my transformations, to make me unfit to rule. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Gregor raised his hand for silence. And the previous brides? Died because Matias ensured the curse's effects were never explained. Each woman had her wolf awakened. When the curse triggered, it forced their transformations violently. They couldn't control it. They died in agony. Yet Lady Elira survived. How? I spoke. Because I was dormant. No awakened wolf meant no forced transformation. But when I touched the king during his transformation, my wolf began to awaken. Slowly. Controlled. I created a bond with him, an anchor that allowed him to maintain control. Impossible, someone called. Mate bonds don't form that quickly. True mate bonds don't operate on human time frames, Theron countered. They recognize what should be. The bond formed because Alira is. A commotion at the doors cut him off. An old woman pushed through the crowd, commanding attention despite her small stature. She wore purple robes marked with silver runes, and her eyes, one blue, one gold, fixed on me. Oracle Miriam, Gregor said with respect. I felt the shift in ancient bloodlines. She walked directly toward me. Show me your eyes, girl. I met her gaze, and my golden eyes reflected in hers. The oracle sucked in a breath. Then she dropped into a deep curtsy. Dawnborn, the prophecy was true. The chamber exploded with noise. What prophecy? I demanded. The oracle straightened. 300 years ago, the Dawnborn bloodline vanished, the oracle said, her voice carrying through the silent chamber. They were hunted by those who feared their power, the ability to channel pure light, to purify corruption, to serve as perfect balance to darkness. Kings wanted to control them. Warlords wanted to enslave them. Dark practitioners wanted to consume their power. So they fled, scattered, hid themselves among common wolf packs. The last true Dawnborn left a prophecy before she disappeared. That when the Shadowborn king faced his darkest hour, when corruption threatened to consume the light entirely, a daughter of the lost bloodline would awaken and restore the balance. She said the Dawnborn would know their destiny by the gold in their eyes and the warmth in their hearts. She said they would find their match in shadow, and together, they would remind the world what true balance looks like. My head spun. That's just a story. Explain your golden eyes. Explain how you anchored a Shadowborn king. Explain how you survived what killed 3 others. The dormant awakening was how your bloodline protected itself. Your ancestors sealed away the Dawnborn nature until the right catalyst. And that catalyst was him. She pointed at Theron, the Shadowborn king whose curse you were meant to break. Theron's voice was controlled. If Alira is truly Dawnborn, what does that mean for the curse? It means she can break it completely. Not just anchor you during transformations, but purify the corruption at its source, Shadowborn and Dawnborn together. You're the balance the ancient magic recognizes. Hope flared in Theron's eyes. How? The girl needs to fully awaken first. Once she shifts completely, once she embraces her Dawnborn nature, she'll channel purifying light. Then, during the next full moon, you'll perform the bonding ritual. Your combined power will burn the curse away. The next full moon is in 2 days, someone noted. 2 days. 2 days to prepare, to learn what it meant to be Dawnborn. I looked at Theron. His expression asked, "Can you do this?" I thought about my father, about Silverpine, about 300 people who lived because I'd honored a bargain, about 3 women who'd died, and a man alone for 12 years. Yes, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I'll do whatever it takes to break the curse. The oracle smiled. Then we begin immediately. Your Majesty, I'll need your mother's journals and the tower room. Lady Alira, you'll train with me. Every hour matters. As the council dissolved into planning, as Theron was pulled away by advisors, I felt the bond stretch but not break. Through it, I sensed his determination, his gratitude, his growing love. And beneath it all, I felt my wolf stirring stronger, responding to the truth. Dawnborn. The word echoed, foreign yet familiar, as if my soul had always known. The oracle's hand on my shoulder drew my attention. Come, child, we have much work to do. Your awakening will not be easy. Dawnborn shifts are more intense than standard wolves. You'll need to be strong. I am strong, I said, lifting my chin. She studied me, then nodded. Yes, strong enough to love a cursed king. Strong enough to break ancient magic. Strong enough to change the world. 2 days until the full moon. But this time, I wasn't afraid. This time, I was ready. The next 2 days passed in a blur of training. Oracle Miriam was relentless, teaching me to sense the Dawnborn energy flowing through my veins. It felt different from normal wolf magic. Brighter, sharper, like liquid sunlight. The Shadowborn walk between light and darkness, she explained. They channel shadow power. The Dawnborn are their balance. You channel pure light. Together, you're unstoppable. My first full shift came on the second morning. It happened in the tower room, with Theron watching from the circle. The change wasn't violent. It was powerful. Overwhelming. But right. Natural. When I opened my eyes from 4 legs, the world had transformed. Colors were different. Scents were encyclopedias. And power thrummed through every muscle. I was larger than a normal she-wolf. My fur was pure white with veins of gold running through it like sunlight through clouds. You're beautiful, Theron breathed. Absolutely beautiful. I shifted back with the Oracle's guidance. As human again, I felt complete for the first time. Not broken, whole. The night of the full moon arrived. The entire court gathered in the great courtyard. The Oracle insisted the bonding ritual be witnessed, that the curse breaking be public so no one could claim it was a trick. I wore a gown of white and gold. Theron wore his ceremonial armor, black chased with silver, the crown on his brow. We stood in a circle of candles while the moon climbed toward apex. The curse will try one last time, the Oracle warned. Hold on to each other, hold on to the bond. Let your combined natures, shadow and dawn, merge completely. As the moon reached its peak, I felt the curse activate. It crashed over Theron like a wave, trying to force his transformation. But this time, I was ready. I shifted simultaneously, my transformation smooth. Our wolves emerged together, and the bond blazed like a star going nova. Through the bond, I channeled Dawnborn light into Theron's transformation. The corruption met the purifying power I poured through our connection. The curse screamed as light burned through shadow, but not destroying the shadow, balancing it. Theron's wolf emerged fully for the first time in 12 years. Not a beast, not a monster, but a magnificent creature of power and grace. His fur was black as midnight with silver highlights, his eyes storm gray. He was huge, an alpha in every sense, but there was no wrongness now. Just pure, natural power. Our wolves touched noses, and the curse shattered. The sound was like glass breaking, audible to everyone. The dark energy that had hung over the castle for 12 years dissipated like smoke. And in its wake, the bond solidified into something permanent and unbreakable. We shifted back to human form together, collapsing into each other's arms. The courtyard was silent for 3 heartbeats. Then it erupted in cheers. Lord Gregor was the first to kneel. Hail the Shadowborn King! Hail the Dawnborn Queen! One by one, the entire court knelt. Queen. I met Theron's eyes, saw the question, and I nodded. The bargain had brought me here as payment for a debt, but what I'd found was something far more valuable. A purpose, a power, and a love written in the stars. 3 days later, we held a real wedding, not a bargain, but a choice. Silverpine sent representatives. The village thrived under Theron's protection. Nissa served as my maid of honor. Matias and Cassia were tried and exiled, their titles stripped, their treachery exposed. Justice, if not quite vengeance. In the months that followed, as I learned to wield my Dawnborn abilities, and Theron led without the shadow of a curse, we discovered something the prophecy hadn't mentioned. The balance between shadow and dawn didn't just break curses, it strengthened both. Theron's control over his abilities grew, and so did mine. Together, we were more than the sum of our parts. On the anniversary of that first terrifying night, we returned to the tower room. The protection runes had been replaced with blessing runes. The moon willow still bloomed, tended now by both of us. Do you regret it? Theron asked, holding me close as we watched the moon rise. The bargain that brought you here? I thought about the frightened girl who'd climbed these stairs expecting death, hands trembling, heart racing with terror she'd tried so hard to hide. About 300 lives hanging in the balance, 300 people who would have died without the bargain. About my father's guilt, and the king's loneliness and the curse that twisted beauty into a weapon. No, I said, turning to kiss him. I don't regret a single moment. Because some bargains aren't about what you lose. They're about what you find, and what I'd found, in a tower full of moonlight, in the eyes of a cursed king, in the awakening of my own hidden power, was more than I ever could have imagined. It was home.